You're listening to Conversations with ClubRight, the podcast where we delve into what it's like owning a business in the fitness industry and offer practical insight to help you grow and thrive. It's been a challenging few years for us all, so join us every Tuesday for new episodes where we talk about everything from member retention in the economic climate we're currently in to building a long-term growth strategy for your club, as well as stories of when I ran my gym. So, I'm your host, Wayne Heath. Looking forward to getting into this episode. So, welcome back to episode 5 of Conversations with ClubRight. So, we've got a really exciting one today, and I'll tell you who that person is. But just to let you know, this will be the last episode just prior to Christmas, and the next episode will be going out in the new year. So, 2024, not far away. But we've got more exciting things to talk about than next year, because we've got the man himself, Mr. John Grindrod, in the house. So John is the founder of FTC Gym. Wanted to get him on the episode because he's got a truly incredible story. And whenever John and I sit down and have a chat, which isn't as often as I'd like sometimes, but when we do get together, we don't stop talking. And he's always got a story of inspiration from his military background. So I guess it's really over to you, John, to introduce yourself.
Hi, Wayne. My name's John Grindrod. As Wayne's alluded to, my gym's called FTC Gym. FTC, Functional Training Company, is what it stands for. And the reason it's called Functional Training Company was because when I was looking for a name for the company, functional training was the big in thing at the time in the industry. And when I looked on Company's House, it wasn't taken, so I took it.
Boom.
There you go. Simple as that, really. And then I was doing a lot of work at the time for a company called TRX, which I'm sure we're all aware of. Mm-hmm. And obviously with their marketing strategies and stuff like that, TRX actually stands for Total Body Resistance Exercise, which nobody knows. And like my company is called FTC. Nobody knows what it stands for, but it's Functional Training Company. Yeah. Everybody just knows it as FTC now.
Excellent. Well, you've had a meteoric rise in FTC, and I have literally seen it from the dusty shell that the building was back in the day of Ipswich, and I've still got that photo on my phone somewhere where you actually showed me around, and we're just, how big was that building? But yeah, it just evolves and constantly does evolve, and it's kind of that story is what got you to this point. So if we're going back to the beginning, you joined the RAF. So what was that like, and what made you do that in the first place?
Well, my dad was actually in the military as well. So my dad served 40 years in the Royal Air Force, and he got sent to Berlin in 86, and I followed him out from college.
Okay.
So I went out there, and I then had to get a job. Because I was on the way back to the UK to get one. Because I couldn't work for my dad directly, because on the base, I had to work for somebody else, and that happened to be in a gym, believe it or not. Okay. So I worked in a gym, just doing general dog's body and stuff like that, working in the sports store, helped the groundsman. And then we had a swimming pool that opened, and I trained to be a lifeguard, and I lifeguarded out of the pool. And then my dad was posted back to the UK in 1990, just after the Berlin Wall came down. Uh-huh. And I obviously followed him back.
So he saw that Berlin Wall scenario.
Yeah. So here's a little fact for you.
Go on then. I just love this. This is what I like talking to you.
I did my driving test on the day the Berlin Wall came down in Berlin.
Shut up. Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you avoided hitting it. And you failed.
I failed. I knocked the wall down, obviously. No, but yeah, I took my driving test, my first one in Berlin, when the day the wall came down.
That is an amazing fun fact.
Yeah. So there you go. That's my claim to fame as such. But yeah, came back, and then I got back to the UK with my dad up in North Yorkshire. Mm-hmm. And my dad said to me, "Right, son, you've got 6 months to get a job." And I went, "Okay, typical, Yeah. And I said, "Well, if I get desperate, I can always join up." And he went, "Oh, you're never man enough." So the following day, got on the bus, went to York, went to this the Careers Information Office, and signed up my interest to join up in the RAF as a physical training instructor. That then took about that probably took a year to actually get in. From that moment to actually my day of entry into the service took a year, but I was accepted within 6 months. To become an RAF physical training instructor is the most, apart from aircrew, is the most desired trade in the RAF, believe it or not, and most applied for one, although not the best paid. But so I got on my physical training instructor's course in Jan 91. Did that. It's a 6-month course, 8 hours a day, contact teaching, and then you're obviously studying in the evening, 5 days a week, and then at weekends you do whatever you're doing, and that's for 6 months. And you do the 12 national games and sports. You did teaching techniques, junior NCO qualities. We did mountaineering, we did canoeing, we did rock climbing, we did what else?
It sounds like you should have done a bush tucker trial as well. But
loads of stuff. We obviously got an intro to parachuting, and we also got an intro to rehabilitation, exercise rehabilitation, because physical training instructors in the Air Force are responsible for adventurous training, parachute training, and rehabilitation, exercise rehabilitation. And when you get promoted to corporal, you have to specialise in one of those. Although I was into mountaineering and that sort of stuff in my early career, I chose to go down the rehab route in 93 after my brother was badly injured playing rugby, fractured his skull, paralysed him from the neck down.
Jesus.
And I went down that road, and I became a rehab instructor, exercise rehab instructor in the RAF, worked out at Headley Court.
Wow.
The Centre of Excellence for exercise rehab, in not just in the UK but in the world.
Hence your mantra of not the excellence in the mantra of FTC. Love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I was a rehab instructor for 17 years in the Air Force, numerous places. And then my last job in the RAF was as the Operational Fitness Equipment Warrant Officer in Afghanistan.
I remember you telling me about this. This is really fascinating. Tell us more.
I looked after 200 gyms dotted around Afghanistan in the British sector, in the Helmand Valley, in the Helmand area province. And I used to fly around with 2 engineers and in a Chinook or whatever. And we used to go and install gyms all over the place or repair kit. So I was in my body armor with a gun, and they're in their blue body armor and helmets, like the press and UN. And then it would be from we'd have a gym that was the size of a 12 by 12 tent, which would have a rower, a bench and a couple of dumbbells and some kettlebells in. And then we'd have the other extreme where we'd have a massive couple of tents that would have 40 treadmills, 40 cross trainers, 40 rowers, and everything else to go with it, all the weights and stuff like that. But 200 gyms invariably. And that's what I looked after. And that's then,
so we're looking after one gym that's 17,000 square feet degrees now, right?
Kind of. Yeah, maybe that gave me my background. And then while I was there, I got a letter from the RAF saying they were looking for people for voluntary redundancy because the Air Force and the military were going through cuts at the time. And something had harboured in the back of my mind. My boss had said to me at the time, if you want to stay at the front of it, you've got to be challenging your peers.
Yeah. And
I thought, well, as I was 40, early 40s, I thought I need to get out now if I want to get into the civilian sector.
Makes sense.
So I chose to get out at that time because I was still young enough. And I got linked into TRX and a few other people. And I got out and I started doing master training for TRX, Technogym, Toro Pro, a couple of other companies, that kind of stuff. And that's how I started. And I kind of used to go around delivering training, and particularly obviously to the military because of my military contacts.
Yeah.
And I got fed up of going around and being thrown into the corner of a gym,
right,
to deliver education, because it wouldn't happen in any other field of experience.
No, it wouldn't.
You wouldn't be thrown into the middle of a room and said, get on, if you were teaching French or something where there was no talking.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, I need to open my own centre up.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to have a centre really that's for fitness is to have it inside a gym.
Of course.
So I thought, right, what I want to do is find a place where I can have a gym.
Yep.
The way I think a gym should be.
Yeah, and you had the experience of 200 of them, so you've got half an idea.
So I wanted to take the best of the military and combine it with the best of civilian. And then also you have this education facility tucked into that as well. And a couple of other components like rehab, nutrition, blah, blah, blah. Those kind of things. So that was my idea. So I spent 5-6 years networking and looking around for a place, and eventually I stumbled on a place. And
what a place it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got to thank my wife, because I messaged her and I said, I found somewhere. And she said, where is it? And I showed her. She said, well, give the guy a call. And I went, nah, I can't do that. She went, give me the phone. And she phoned.
So Helen took over.
Yeah, Helen took over and phoned the guy. And we got through to this bloke. I just thought he was the property manager.
Right.
And I agreed to meet him. And then we met at the facility, walked around, and he said, right, come on, let's go for a coffee. We'll have a chat. So I went for a coffee in Costa with him. And he said, I was in your shoes in 1970 and I needed a leg up, and I'm going to give you one.
Wow.
He said, I'll let you put planning permission in. I will take the building off the market for rent. You get planning permission, you go ahead. And the guy who owned SEH and was a multimillionaire in our area, self-made businessman.
Amazing.
And gave me that chance. So I was very lucky, really. But
do you know what though? There's sometimes that those right moments happen, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and you've got to take, if there's a chance there, you've got to take that chance when it's there, you know. Yeah. And if it hadn't been for my wife, you know, saying at the time, I would never have taken that chance. I'd only missed my opportunity, miss it, meeting that bloke, and so on, and being where I am today. So, and I've taken that forward, because if there is a chance and you can take it, and obviously if the chances are in your favour,
of course,
you know, you got to take those chances, haven't you?
Of course you have, and that's where it leads you today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I just thought all gyms in the civilian sector were my size at first, because I was completely oblivious to it.
Yeah,
and I just thought everybody had big gyms.
Yeah, and you definitely have got a large gym, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, went in at the deep end in a big way.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then the pandemic hit, didn't it?
It did indeed, and it kind of going back a little bit from I suppose the pandemic, which we'll kind of maybe come back to, is like you end up as a team therapist for the rugby team as well, the RAF, and I know rugby's a really big part of your life. So, what's the one thing you kind of liked about that when representing the RAF?
Well, I played rugby all my life, and obviously my brother got injured. I retired for a week or two as a consequence of his injury, and then I thought, well, I could get run over the following day. You can't live your life like that. So I carried on playing, and I moved back into the front row to my mum and dad's delight, which is probably the most dangerous position on the pitch. But I threw on a load of weight to be able to play in that position. And then I had a meteoric climb through the ranks, to be fair, and I ended up playing semi-pro.
Did you?
I was out at Headley Court. Yeah, so I played for Esher in the National Leagues, and then I played for Henley, and then I played for the Air Force itself.
Wow.
And then I played for the Air Force vets as I got a bit older, and then I managed the vets. And then later on, because of my rehab background, I then rehabbed the senior side for an FNN. And then when I left the Air Force, as well as doing master teaching, I was also the rehab guy for Bury St Edmunds Rugby Club, who are in the National Leagues. And now I manage a veterans, an ex-Air Force veterans side who tour.
I've noticed, and you came back from a tour recently, didn't you?
Yeah, so we've just done we did Remembrance Sunday in Cardiff.
Nice.
So we did that game, but prior to that, we did the Dubai Vets 10s last year. You can do these things.
But I think what's nice about that, you talk about the RAF although you've been away from it for a while, there's such a level of team that exists there, isn't there? Yeah, because people rely on other people in the RAF, and if someone, I've had this conversation with you, haven't I? It's all about process, and in business, someone's not going to die, but if someone messes up on outside in Helmand Province or something like that, someone could lose their life.
Absolutely, and I mean, and that's where, believe it or not, physical fitness fits into the military, and why adventurous training. They don't. Obviously, there is a fitness element in the military. People are required to be fit, but it's not. They don't do physical fitness for just that reason. That is one of the aim, but it's not the primary aim. Believe it or not, the primary aim is teamwork, resilience, and those kind of things. Yeah. And when we do adventurous training in the military, they do that because that's the closest they can take people in a safe environment and put them in an unsafe position where they know they can control that environment and get them at risk and get them under pressure and make them think clearly while they're under pressure. And that's why they do adventurous training in the military and parachuting and other sorts of things, you know. And obviously we use parachuting for military reasons anyway.
And how many times have you jumped out of
an aeroplane?
How many times? Go
3
on.
times. Never again. Again, talk about stories. My boss sent me on what was called a SPI course, synthetic parachute instructional course, which was so you could teach ejection drills,
right?
Because you have to have parachute to teach it.
Right,
so I went on the course and I jumped on what was called a PX4 parachute, which is the old Second World War parachute.
Right.
And I had to sign a waiver because I was over the weight limit. So I was playing. So yeah, I was over the weight limit. And I jumped, and my instructor who taught me down, who was actually a fellow rugby player, said as you were coming into land, I had to look away. I was last out, first out. Yeah, 3 times. Didn't get concussion. That was it. Never again.
And lived to fight another day.
Yeah, and I became religious for about a week, I think. So yeah,
it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So it was good to, you know. So yeah, managed to parachute. I'm very lucky. The parachute, the mountaineering, the canoeing. You know, been all over the world, played rugby. That's what the military's done for me, and I've still got those. I've got many friends through RAF rugby and obviously the physical training branch within the Air Force as well.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, you'll end up being comrades in life as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well beyond what was before. It's what can sort of bind you all together going forward in rugby and everything else.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And I'm very lucky to be in that branch, get paid. Like I say, I used to say to people, I get paid for doing my hobby.
Yeah, well,
you know, and I never went into work having a bad day or not wanting to go into work. Even when I was facing a day of doing 20 miles on a run and stuff like that, which was never a good day, but do it.
But there's not a lot of people could say that, John. Not a lot of people can say that.
Every single day was a great day. And even when I did the detachment to Afghanistan, it was an experience. It was a life experience. So I was very lucky.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And if you look at some of the research we did for this episode, I mean, there are no less than 30 accolades that you've achieved. It feels a bit like this is your life now, doesn't it? If anyone listening to this can actually remember it, unfortunately, John and I can. But you know, sports rehabilitation, Bachelor of Science 1 and 2 levels. You know, strength and conditioning. You know, there's so many things I could go on for. But you know, what drives you to keep learning? Because you could sit there and go, I kind of know what I need to know. I know everything that I need to know, and that's it. But that's not you.
No. Well, I was very lucky. When I went down the rehab route, I went to the school at Headley Court, and I had a flight sergeant that was one of my instructors, amongst other instructors on that course, a guy called Russ Kopak, who is now a professor. He runs the research department for Headley. Headley Court has now moved up towards Loughborough, and it's now at Stanford Hall, and it's part of the National Rehab Facility.
Right.
And they've closed Headley Court, and he's now in charge of research at Stanford Hall. Okay. And Russ, again, was a PTI in the Air Force, joined up, did his degree. I went on and did my degree. He then went on, did his master's, and then he's done his doctorate and stuff like that. Gosh. And one of the things that Russ did to me was inspire that thing to carry on learning forever. You don't know everything.
No,
you never learn. You never know enough.
No.
And everything changes. And you know, he inspired me to make sure I keep on top of that. And education became a fundamental to the job I was doing. And then I became very passionate about education within the industry. And I still am. And I'm trying to drive standards and improve standards within the industry. And
we've talked about
why I wanted my own academy.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this at length, and just how important standards are in our industry, and the fact that you've got, and we won't go on our soapbox on this one, but the reality is having good standards and you're looking after someone's health and well-being, which in essence is what we are responsible for if you're a gym owner. Having good standards is really important, and having the right skills to deliver that and understand people's needs is paramount, to be fair.
Well, I find it absolutely amazing that people wouldn't let an unqualified mechanic loose on their car, yet they quite happily let an unqualified PT loose on their body.
Yeah.
I'd rather let an unqualified person touch my car.
Yeah, it's less complex.
You know? Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? And then these people go, well, I don't need qualifications. You know, I know what I'm doing. You know, I'm a bodybuilder, this and all of that sort of stuff. Well, absolute nonsense. just complete rubbish. If you are not willing to get qualified in the area that you work in, you are showing a complete lack of professionalism. Simple as. And you've got something to hide if you're not willing to want a governing body and to drive standards within your industry.
Yeah, no, and as I say, totally with you on that. And it's really important about standards, because it's, as I say, people's health and well-being is a huge amount of responsibility.
Absolutely. And we have a job to do. And we wonder why the NHS and such like professions don't want to work with us when we don't show the professionalism that's required to be part of that. If we want people to be referred to us and be recognised for what we actually are,
absolutely,
we need to uphold those standards, and we need to be qualified. And being qualified is part and parcel of that process, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely, and especially when you think about, even I don't know, potential joint condition, the right type of exercise can improve far better than medication, right? Far healthier.
Absolutely, and when we were at Headley Court, a patient would come in that's had complex surgery and stuff like that, but 95% of the time they would be spending that with the exercise therapist, not the physio, not the consultant, not the surgeons. It would be spent with us as exercise therapists, and then we would get them to a certain stand where we could hand them on to a personal trainer, a physical training instructor. And exercise is the best medication that can be prescribed. 100%. If you could put it in a tablet, it would be the most sold tablet you can ever buy.
Yeah, there was a doctor I bumped into with UK Active many years ago, and I've forgotten the guy's name now, which is really bad of me, but he was inspirational in that he was a surgeon, and he recognised that what you've just said, and then he's carried on writing books upon books about that exact same subject.
And we're lucky that, surgeons, I think, get that, physiotherapists get that and stuff like that. But unfortunately, your local GP gets a kickback from every prescription they give. They don't get a kickback from us at a gym. Therefore, they'd rather write a prescription than they would refer somebody to a gym. But so why would you refer somebody to a gym if you don't know how qualified they are or whether they're able to handle?
And that arguably makes good sense, doesn't it? Because it's like reverse psychology, reverse logic, really.
So here at FTC, we have our gym, we have our PTs, but we also have some rehab instructors and a physiotherapist. So the physios and the exercise therapists work with our injured people, and then they hand them back to the PTs. And when the PTs get somebody injured, they don't try and deal with somebody that they can't cope with. They hand them over to the physios, they deal with them, and they hand them back. But they have this symbiotic relationship.
But they've got that expertise in-house to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the aspects of the military that I wanted to bring to the civilian side, where you didn't have PTs trying to be everything and nothing. They were trying to be a masseur, they were trying to sell nutrition, they were trying to do diets and that. They were trying to do PT, they were trying to sell a bit of kit. But actually, PTs need to be PTs. Correct. That's what they do. That's what they're trained in. And they need to fundamentally remember that. And the other stuff won't drive a living. It'll give them some extra money. Yeah. But the first port of call is being a physical training.
And I think what's interesting when you talk about sports rehab, sports rehab doesn't have to be sports, does it? It could be anything. No. And I think a lot of people, the average gym member who may cannot consider themselves to be a sporty person, may feel that sports rehabilitation is not for them because of the word sports. And actually,
absolutely. Our rehab guys downstairs, I think 80% of their patients are not sportsmen.
Yeah, I can well believe that.
They're just people that come in the gym, or they don't even come in the gym. I think 40% of their clientele are not members of the gym. Wow. Of the 80%, only 20% outside of the 8% are actually athletes as such.
Gosh.
So it's fundamental, and I fully embed myself in that. My son has been under rehab for the last 8 weeks. He's following his program. He'll now start to engage with his personal trainer, even though he's studying to be a personal trainer himself.
Yep, and what a large unit he is now. He's super tall. It's like, where do these kids get it from, right?
I don't know. I don't know where he gets those genetics from. I'm going to have to check.
Yeah, because I think your son and my son are about the same age from memory, aren't they?
Yeah,
and they're like equally massive.
18, 6'2" and 100 kilos. I've just been told. Of beef, prime beef,
which is fantastic. And I think it kind of moves on a little bit to where obviously Helen decided that that's what he wants to go for with the gym and the building. But what was the motivation behind actually opening it? What was the real reason he really wanted to do it?
I wanted this academy, and I wanted to own a gym to be the best, gym that I could. And my target is to be the best gym in Ipswich, then be the best gym in Suffolk, then be the best gym in East Anglia.
Yeah.
Now there's a bit of competition for that because there are couple of gems in East Anglia, believe it or not.
Okay.
You know, but
what apart from you,
we're not a bodybuilding gym, you know, but we're quite large, and I just wanted to open a facility that, hoping that I was happy to go into, that other people would be happy to go into. And fit people will always find somewhere they're happy with. But those people that have never been into a gym or haven't been in one since they left school, you know, we wanted to make them welcome, wanted to make them feel comfortable. And that was the drive, you know, making people. And I wanted to make sure we had a gym, even though we were large, where we knew all our members.
Yeah.
You know, company policy is to say hello and goodbye to everybody as they enter and leave the building.
Common decency, right? But how many people forget those basic things?
You know, and just because you don't charge a premium doesn't mean that you can't be polite and welcoming and friendly. You know, and that's our aspiration, is to drive excellence forward in everything that we do. We haven't got excellence in everything we do because we're always improving. There's always somewhere we can improve.
It's interesting when you talk about you saying hello and goodbye. When my wife and I had our gym, the most important thing from a retention point of view was actually being acknowledged when people arrived.
Yeah,
because if you hadn't seen someone for 2 or 3 weeks, for example, the next time that person comes in, maybe the time they're judging you to go, no one said hello to me again. I am actually going to cancel my direct debit now.
Absolutely.
It's that psychology of what goes through people's heads.
Right? We have turned people around just on that, you know, because they said, I was thinking about it, but actually, you know, we bring us a bit of light to their lives. And we do get that thing when people are walking out and we haven't said goodbye. They literally turn around looking at us going, and, you know, we're in the process of saying it and they're like, you know, so, and it just makes the place much more welcoming.
Of course it does.
And a nice place to work in. I mean, when everybody's cup of tea, you can't be. But we try our hardest, you know, and we're not a Zumba dance to music place. We're not.
Well, you've got a big studio, though.
Yeah, we have a big studio, so we do lots of functional classes, kettlebells, TRX, that kind of stuff. But we don't do dance to music. We do box fit. We do spin. We're bringing that back onto the menu.
That's interesting.
You know, I've just brought box fit back on because one of my apprentice, she's a semi-pro boxer.
I remember that. Yeah,
she's fantastic. She's designed a box fit class herself, and she lead the way with that. You know, the rest of us all do boot camp circuits. You know, everything. You know, all those kind of things. But we don't do dance to music stuff. And we're not what I would call a lifestyle club. So we don't do saunas, jacuzzis, swimming. That kind of stuff, but we do strength and conditioning, we do cardio, we've got e-gym, we do classes, we do rehab, we do have an element of nutrition, we have education. You know, strength and conditioning is the foundations that we're built on, though. Yeah,
and you've got something. To be fair, having been to your facility on a few occasions, I know that there's something for everyone. It's just a case of making sure they're brave enough to come across the door and make that welcoming experience when they meet you guys. Then they want to join it because they found something that they can actually enjoy going to. That's the key, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, and that's our first question is, what are you looking for in, you know, what is it that you want out of the gym? Not what I want to give you, is what do you want? And then if they say, I want a sauna and a jacuzzi, I go, you're in the wrong place. You need to go. There's another club just down the road. That's what they do. Now,
would they be shocked you said that? They'd be shocked you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's no point in lying to them.
No, I agree.
You know, and I would never diss another club. You know, we've all got our place in the market.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if they want Zumba or stuff like that, I'll send them to the right place to go do that. But that's not us. But if they want strength and conditioning and they want classes and that kind of stuff, we're the place for them.
100%.
Without a doubt.
So in terms of what would you say is a skill you didn't expect to come in useful that you have running a gym that you need to have?
I think I've become a really good handyman over the last few years.
Is that your toolkit next door to you?
Yeah, my toolkit. Yeah, you can just see it in the picture. I've literally built the best toolkit a man can have.
Fabulous.
So I literally have every tool because I'm fed up of getting
does
to
a snap-on tool van turn up outside your building every time?
I have to keep it here because it's worth so much bloody money. But I'm fed up of trying to fix something, not have the tool for it. So now I have the tool. And obviously, when I worked with those two engineers in Afghanistan, go around, I learned a lot. Them, and I like equipment, so I've learned a bit. I mean, I can do my fair share, and you have to do your fair share of maintenance. If you don't keep on top of it, things get broken, cost you money.
And your members judge you for that.
Yeah,
Broken machinery is the world's worst thing in the gym.
Absolutely. And I had that conversation yesterday with somebody who said they were fed up of being in the gym and a piece of equipment being out for weeks. And the only time a piece of equipment is out for weeks in our place is if there's a bit that we cannot get and it's being shipped in from China and we're just literally waiting for that bit. And often we'll try and take it off the floor rather than leave it out, if we can, but sometimes you can't. But invariably, a couple of days or within a week, it's fixed. If we have to, we get somebody in.
So certainly it's becoming a mechanic or an ability to fix stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the skills. I think obviously, communication. Yeah. Yes, I was in the military, and we have a certain way of communicating.
Yeah,
I've had to learn the other side of soft communication.
Well, that's interesting because that kind of leads into the next question in a way, because like how the RAF has influenced you as a business owner. So is that what you mean by that?
Well, kind of, yeah. So obviously, coming from military to civilian life, I previously could tell my staff that's what I want to do and I want it now.
Yeah.
And go do it. That's your job, and they had no choice about it. Obviously, you can't do that in the civilian sector. Yeah, I mean, I tell them what I could try, and some will just will do it, and then others will just go, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn a different way. But I would say in the RAF, I wouldn't use that technique most of the time anyway, because that's not a good way to manage people in the first place.
No, it's not.
You only get down to that kind of telling people to do stuff when you absolutely have to, when you're under pressure, when you're in an environment that doesn't have leeway. But when you're in a normal everyday working environment, you don't manage like that anyway, not even in the military. And everybody has this idea in the military that we order people to do stuff all the time. That's not the case. No. We have exactly the same kind of management systems in place, but we have more structure, but we have the ability to take that command and control a bit further if required.
Yeah, and they might actually realise that there is an outcome which may not be positive for that individual if they didn't do what. And I think that's maybe the bigger difference as well. And they know that, I'm not saying they won't be court-martialed because obviously that'd be quite a serious offence, but somebody would be pulled to task, for want of a better word.
Absolutely, but they're for obvious reasons, and you stated them earlier, because in some situations, if somebody didn't do their job down the chain somewhere, ultimately that could lead to a bigger failure further down the line, which could ultimately cost somebody's life.
Absolutely.
And we could be talking about somebody not packing a parachute properly.
Yeah.
So then jumping out of an aeroplane and it doesn't open, doesn't deploy, and they injure themselves, that kind of stuff. Somebody putting a bolt in an ejection seat, not doing it properly, not putting the clip on, ultimately leads to an ejection seat failure, costs a life. These are all major factors within the military, but little things lead to big things.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
Little acorns grow big oaks, and it's exactly the same with risk.
No, it really is.
So if you get your processes sorted out early doors, you then prevent other things happening. And I would say that's one of the big things I brought for the military. They're very risk averse. They're very health and safety conscious, more so than civilian street. They're very organized in the things they do. So like when the pandemic happened, yes, I cried for about 10 minutes when Boris told us we were locking down. Yeah. And then I stood up, got my whiteboard out, and then put my plan in place. And then I implemented my plan, and my plan worked, But it's interesting. I speak to my accountant and my bookkeeper, and they said you were the first and one of the few that did a plan, stuck to it from the very beginning. Other people just put their head in the sands and
they really did.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really did.
And it took us through. I mean, we had 1,900 members before the pandemic, and went down to 1,100, but 1,100 carried on paying all the way through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Without those 1,100 paying, we
wouldn't have been able to open the doors again, would you?
Yeah, no. And that comes from the identity of the business, me as the business owner, and the way we manage the process.
And I think the sheer desire from the members to go, well, we know that at some stage this pandemic thing is going to end.
Yeah.
And we do want to go back to FTC.
Absolutely.
And if we don't support FTC right now, it may not be there to come back to.
And that was fundamental, and that was a true belief. And we were very lucky. And we have still got quite a few.
That's not luck, John. That's effort.
Effort, determination, a bit of luck, and it saw us through. And I'm truly thankful for those members that stuck with us. And what we've always done, we've always tried to improve what we do all the time. We're always improving the club. We're always adding something new. We're trying to up our standards all the time. You can't sit back on your laurels, and
No, you can't.
You can never do that.
No. And I had that same philosophy here. As we're always evolving, always wanted to do something better, constantly improving. It's most probably, one of my heroes is Steve Jobs, and it's always trying. One of his things has always been making things better.
Yeah,
it's not like saying I'm the best, but I'm always going to be better. And I think if you're striving towards something, which is the same kind of ethic, well, what's wrong with that? That's got to be a good thing.
Absolutely. We just want to be better at what we do. I'm not concerned with what everybody else does.
No, agree.
They do their thing, they do it in their way, but we'll do our thing, and we'll try to do what we do better. And hopefully that's better than what the rest does.
Exactly. And I think that kind of leads perfectly into my favourite statement that you have. Excellence is a mandatory requirement, not a vague aspiration. So
absolutely.
Where's that come from? Tell me.
Well, again, that comes back from my old mate Russ at Henley Court. Yeah.
Okay.
And, I was speaking to him, and I said, I need to come up with a mission statement and something about us. And I've been speaking to Russ for years, and he knows me very well. And Russ said, I've got just the thing for you. And he said, here you go. And he gave me that phrase, and he said, I think that would sum up your business and you as an individual. And so I've used it ever since and he gave it to me, freely. And it's been
no copyright on it.
Of the business, really. And it's there in big black letters and everything.
But it says such a lot about what it's about, excellence.
Absolutely.
And it's is a mandatory requirement, not a vague aspiration. It says, we're here to work with you, we're here to help you achieve those goals. It says so much in that one statement to me.
And I hope that all my staff get that, they know that statement, and they know what it means,
Yes.
And I try and everything. I can't pay them an absolute fortune. The industry's not the best paid in the world. We try,
and your bills haven't gone down either, so
no, exactly. But what we can do is try and make them the best PTs and give them a good foundation to work from. So I've got lots of young staff, and I've trained them up. I'm a great believer in CPD, in standards, in what we do. We kick them out as best as we can, all of those kind of things, and I try and make an enjoyable work environment. For sure.
You know what, that really, and it does show through, because I know a couple of your team, and it's very evident that, like you said, the industry may not be the best paid industry in the world, but if someone's looking after you and you're getting a chance to expand your education and ability, that's something that doesn't happen often enough in business, especially small business. People just make a cutback on that.
Saying that, though, Lucy, who's my assistant manager, she's a true inspiration to the, she's only 22, but she is earning a fair whack of money because she PTs. And she also works on a salary for me. She does 30 hours for me, and then she PTs 20 hours a week on top of that. And she's earning, when you see these advertisements, PTs can earn this much, she's actually earning.
Well, and you know what? If she's good, which I know she is, and I think we might actually be inviting Lucy to join us on one of these sessions, because she's got yet again an interesting story about her approach and how she works. And it's very evident. And I think, but maybe that a lot of that's rubbed off from some of the influence you guys have had.
Yeah, I think you've got to try and find people that are driven. And she certainly is a case of that. And hopefully, I've got other staff. Some are happy to be where they are. They're quite happy to be in that flow and stay on that.
But that's what a team's about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to have horses for courses, and
of course,
you have people that want to stay on the inside lane, and you have people that want to be an outside lane. And you've got to find a pace for all of them. Yeah,
like they say, your striker's not your goalkeeper, and vice versa.
Absolutely. And you build your business around different people that bring different attributes to the business.
Yeah.
If you had everybody doing the same thing, you wouldn't be successful. Simple as that.
And it'll always be, I think that's most probably the one thing that my wife and I either liked or disliked, was that we had not a constant turnover of staff, but there was always one or two people that were just in that mode of, you're not quite fitting. But we learned quite quickly to be brave enough to go, you're not fitting, let's move on, let's find someone else.
Absolutely. And yes, I've now got to the stage where I've got some stability with my staff. But there'll always be one or two in the mix, that move on themselves, or you move on because they're not quite the right fit. it's nothing against them. It's
No.
just the way the business is.
Absolutely.
You know,
So I'm kind of looking at all the things we talked about, and I think, you know, one of the things I haven't mentioned yet, I think your son Jack is an absolute inspiration in terms of what he's doing and how the career he's now following. And that he did a webinar recently for who was the company now?
It was for Jordan.
Jordan, that was
they were
it.
doing mental health. We obviously I've been involved with Jordan for years. I was a reseller for them, and then they helped me out when I set up the gym here.
Yeah,
you know, and they were really good backbone support. You know, they did all our flooring, all of our studio and numerous other bits. And then Jordan came to do some filming because we had some kit, and they wanted to do some stuff on mental health. So I did a thing, and then they got my son on his own. And everything on that particular podcast from him with Jordan is driven by him. I had no input into it whatsoever. Yeah. And for those that don't know him, my boy's he's high functioning and he's got Asperger's. He then did a chat about that and his mental health and how fitness has helped him and his mental health. Yeah. And I couldn't get him in the gym for years because it was my gym.
Right. Yeah, cool. Dad's gym. Wouldn't want to do that there.
Gym, yeah. And then eventually, instead. With the pandemic, I said to him, look, you need to come in the gym, be good for your mental health, get rid of some of your energy, get you fitter, you'll look good, blah, blah, blah.
And he's a unit now. Christ.
Yeah, well, I said to him, I said, I'll have nothing to do with it. I'll pay for you to have a PT that do help you out and then do some programming. So that's Sean, my academy manager.
Yes.
So Sean does all of his programming. And my son is an absolute advert for programming and following a program to the letter of the law, which is where his Asperger's comes in.
Of course, yeah.
Very process driven.
Yeah, which is why he's brilliant with computers as well, because he's just very, very structured.
So he's very structured. He does his training every day. He has his rest days. And now he is a perfect example of what you can achieve when you're that age with testosterone flowing around your body like it's going out of fashion and without taking gear, you know, and he is literally a mountain now.
It is.
And I always thought he was going to go into computer programming.
Well, exactly. We had this conversation years ago when we first met, didn't we?
Yeah, because he built his first computer at 12 and that sort of stuff. And he's a big gamer, and he does YouTube stuff and all of that with his gaming. And then obviously got him in the gym, and then he's decided to go down the fitness route. So he's done his level 2. He's currently doing his level 3.
Wow.
At college. So again, although we did the level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4,
he's doing the rest of it outside at college.
He does it at college. Nothing to do with us.
Because it's always a bit like teaching your kid to drive, isn't it? It never works.
Do not do it. Do not teach family anything. That's all I say. That's
what's great though, because it's like I can now see the whole of your motivation and excitement about the fitness industry has now lit the blue touch paper in your son, who clearly is going to be going down that same route, and that's something to be quite proud of.
A bit of a spanner in the works, to be honest.
Oh, was it?
Because I was hoping to get the business. Well, Helen was hoping to get the business to a stage where we could sell it and go off on holiday forever. Now that ain't happening. Jack's like, you can't sell them his son. I'm like, yeah, but Lucy wants it. So I don't know what I'm going to do then.
Oh, that'd be a good problem to have, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully I've got some damned on to him and
fantastic.
Yeah, he's doing very well, and he's a perfect example of how good the exercise is for somebody that's on the spectrum or anybody with any mental health issues.
Yeah, and I think it's also just young people in general, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone, you get as a young person, not saying they maybe fallen off the edge, but having a focus on something makes life so much easier, whether you're learning a new job, whatever that might be, or trying to do something. Having a focus and the exercise does give you a chance to focus on something and push ahead. Yeah,
without a doubt. I mean, we obviously went 24/7 last August. Year gone August, and in that we then got some youngsters that were coming to the club late at night, 10 o'clock onwards.
Yeah.
My wife's like, we need to be really careful, and yes, we do. But in the same token, I used to pop in and show my face and stuff like that. But I'd rather youngsters be training in the gym, on the streets causing havoc and mischief.
100%.
And they're keeping fit, they're keeping healthy, they're not doing drugs, and all that kind of stuff. And we have no problems from them. And obviously, young members ultimately become your older members and your long-term members.
Of course, And it's a bit like we've seen a lot with boxing clubs
Yeah.
outside, where they're really getting a lot of young people engaged.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be actually wanting to go into the ring, but we all know that boxing training is particularly good.
Yeah.
And being involved in that kind of environment, yet again, is all about that focus and that distraction from something else that could take them down potentially the wrong path.
Absolutely. I mean, and the other thing is, obviously in our younger days, Wayne,
Yep.
you know, it was going to the pub and socialising. That's where you met people.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the gym's the new nightclub, isn't it? You know,
It
that's
is.
where people meet other people these days, and you know, great on them. You know, good on them. I still think it's wrong, but
maybe that'll be the next version of FTC vote Tinder or something.
Yeah.
So I suppose kind of wrap things up, because you and I could talk forever. We know that. But I would say, what is the one piece of advice you'd give a gym owner in their first year of business? Because you've gone through it, you've learned an awful lot.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one real big nugget that you would be able to sort of share with us?
I say to everybody, anybody that steps into our industry, you've got to work hard. You've got to have a work ethic. You cannot be in our industry and think, oh, I could just do this. It's easy. You've got to have determination, and you've got to have a work ethic. And you nothing is for free.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
You know, you've got to work at it. You've got to want it, and you've got to have a desire, and you've got to have determination to see it through. You know, and that has to stay with you forever. Whenever you're running, if you're head of a business,
100%.
You've got to have desire. You've got to have a work ethic. And the day that you stop having that work ethic and desire is the day that you step away from the business.
Yeah.
You know, if it isn't hard work and that, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Or everyone will be doing it right.
Yeah. You know, you're taking your foot off the pedal. And yes, what you got to do is learn to spread the load with other people. You get other people to do other stuff that you can't do when you first open.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You know what I mean? But as you get more experience, you then concentrate on other stuff. You know, we're now at that stage where we're consolidating, we're spending money. You know, we put the best equipment in we could in when we first started. We're now upgrading all of that equipment. And I've got a decision to make within the next 12 months. Right. Do we stick with what we've got, or do we open another club?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You know, and a great situation to be in.
Absolutely.
You know, and the wife would step away tomorrow and sell.
Yeah.
But I think secretly she loves it, really.
Of course.
You know, and she is fundamentally, you know, the foundations to our business.
That's lovely to hear you say that as well. That's good to hear you say, because I know she puts a lot of work in.
Yeah, and when you say, you know, what would you say to? Because there's multiple things you would say to somebody that's starting out. First and foremost, you need to have a good accountant.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, have a good accountant that's honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not looking not to pay your bills. You want to pay your bills and not get in trouble. Correct. But you want an accountant that can tell you the best ways to save money legally.
Yes.
And 100%. You don't want HMRC and that knocking on your door 2 years down the line going, you owe us some money. Yeah. But you want an accountant that could go, actually, we could save it here, we could do this, we could do that. Yeah. You know, they're fundamental to the business. You know, my wife was a massive addition to the business when she took over the back of house.
Yeah.
She is an expert, as you know,
in
back of house. Yeah. You know, in our member management system.
Yeah.
She does that, which is obviously ClubRight. Yeah. We then obviously she knows Stripe, she knows ClubRight Pay, she knows you know, Go Cardless, all of those things.
Absolutely.
Inside out. She works with my bookkeeper she knows Zero.
Yeah.
Again, she's process driven.
Exactly. So, and that's what it needs, is a process, and then being able to implement that process, and then when you know it works, stick with it.
I'm not the person that can sit there looking at that stuff. You know, I can do it.
Yeah.
But she is very good at it. And
this goes back to your team, though, doesn't it? Goes back
Actually,
to
you've got to have horses for courses.
Yeah.
And sometimes when it's just you, when you first start out, you've got to do the things you don't like doing.
You have to wear all those hats.
Your determination comes in that you're going to make it successful, but as soon as you can, get the right people in the right places, be determined about what you do. So there's multiple things. It's not just one thing.
Yeah.
You know, that to say to a person that started out, because there's so much they've got to do.
But
you know,
sheer determination to do it is what you're coming up with there.
Well, if you can find somebody that can tell, I'd never done planning. You know, I'd never put a planning application in. I didn't know what that was all about. I'd never done VAT. I'd never done PAYE. I'd never done a member management system.
No.
You know, I'd never done a maintenance. Well, I had done a maintenance schedule, you know,
Yeah.
and a buying of equipment. I knew all of that kind of
Of
stuff.
course.
And did I have to do a work roster? No, because I had somebody else to do that for me.
Yeah.
It was in the area, you know, so I had to do that kind of stuff. And, you know, I dealt with, you know, renting contracts, you know, for renting my facility. And you know, I'd dealt with rates before. No, I hadn't.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
did I know how to speak to the council, who to speak to?
Absolutely.
Where, you know, and actually having that communication with the council was fundamental in setting up the business.
Yeah.
Because when I rang the planning office, I said to him, "What do I need to do?" He went, "You need to do this." I did. He then came back in a written thing. This is what you need to do. I followed it. It went through planning.
And that's an interesting point about planning officers, isn't it? They actually are a lot more helpful than people think they are.
They are, if you speak to them in the right way.
Exactly. But like anyone, if you speak to people badly, guess what? You get a bad response. There's no surprise.
Yeah, one of my best skills in the military was I didn't have anything to sell in the military. You know, I didn't work down stores and have kit to give away, boots and stuff. You know, I couldn't take somebody.
You didn't have a sideline on boots.
No,
belts,
I was a PT. I used to PT people, beast people for a living. You know what I mean? You know, so what did I have that I could give away?
Of course,
I could get something out of somebody for nothing. You know, I didn't have a physical thing to swap with them.
Yeah.
So it was my personality, you know, my ability to speak to people, and often that ability to go, well, I don't know how you do that, but I've heard you do.
Yeah.
And can you tell me how you do that?
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you say to people, I hear you're the expert.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how you do that? And once they hear that, they love that.
Absolutely.
You know, and then they're willing to disseminate that information to you and go, yeah, of course I'll help you.
Absolutely.
Because that's human nature.
Yeah. It's just like when you've got a complaint, just don't deal with it in a bad way because people are on the end of it, responding to it, and they do want to help you, but they might be not as inclined if you don't give them such a good response, right?
If you tell somebody that you know better than them,
and
you're asking for their help, they ain't going to help you, are they?
Exactly.
You know it all.
Bit of a false positive, right?
But when you say, "Oh, you're the person to speak to, and you can help me out here," they love that.
You're the man.
So that is one of the skills that I definitely brought across.
100%.
And facility, you know, dealing with those people in planning.
And I think having a process. I mean, you mentioned earlier, you know, about COVID and what you did. You know, you got your whiteboard out, you sketched it out, you planned it, you went to market with it and made it happen. And that, yet again, is your drive and focus to look at a problem, come up with a solution, and then you're going to implement that solution. And I think that's commendable, to say the least.
Well, that was military training. That's what we learned to do.
Exactly.
We were, you know, we were taught crisis management from day one, because obviously going to war is a crisis. You know,
can't predict what's going to happen, can you?
Yeah. What do you do? And everybody has their role, and you have to be in charge of your role. And as you step up the management ladders, you get promoted.
Yeah.
You do more management. You do more planning. You know, and obviously I was taught that, and I was very lucky to go on management courses and all of those kinds of things. And as well as my trade training, you know, how to run a circuit, how to do a spin class, I did all of that as well. But then I did management training on top of that. You know, and I went away and did courses, because that's what they do in the military. They send people away on stuff to do those kind of things. And then I was able to take that into my personal life, into my business, and then use that to my advantage. And it was a massive advantage when the pandemic happened, because I didn't. Although yes, I cried for 10 minutes, as I said to you, but I got that
feeling.
Yeah, I got myself together and went, right, now's time to get on your bike. This is when the work really starts.
Exactly.
You know, and get it done and see it through. And I would say, from my plan that I did, I reckon, you know, I implemented about 60% of it. And the other 40, because nothing survived first contact.
No.
Yeah. You know, so you have to reevaluate as you go along. So 40% of my plan was utter dribble. You know, it wasn't very good.
Right.
Or it wasn't, you know, I realized very quickly, actually, that wasn't going to work. So
but you realize that though, right?
Yeah, you do. And, you know, you think, oh, I'll do this. And as I did that, I was like, all right, actually, I need to go off a different angle here and go, I need to bin that. I need to bring something else in. And that's what we did. And, you know, 60% of my ideas, great. You know, did all of that. That was all really good. And then the other 40 just developed, you know, as I went. And what I didn't have to worry about was the other 60%, because I'd done it.
Exactly.
It was under complete control.
And the other benefit of all this learning is that we've just gone through, know, as and when you do open that second site, because it sounds like Jack's not going to let you off the hook on that one. You know, when that happens, how much better qualified are you to deal with it now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I know how much this has cost, and I think your first site is always your most expensive.
Of course.
You know, because you're learning stuff. But I know now what I'd take into the next one, and
Yes.
it'd be so much cheaper to do that, and so much quicker.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't waste, you know. But also, I think sometimes I was restrained in the way I did things because money was a restriction. You've
Absolutely.
only, you know, and obviously when I'm not going to go in with an unlimited budget,
No.
but I will have a budget, and I'll be able to do, and I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and you'll know what to spend, where to spend it, and
exactly.
not worry about thinking I've just run out of money. You won't be like a grand design.
No, and I wouldn't be starting from scratch. I'd have a lot of those. You know, I've got all my health and safety processes.
Yeah,
I've got my member management system.
You've got your suppliers to work with. You know
absolutely.
where you're going.
You know, so you know that, and I'd be able to. You know, I'd be one step on the ladder already.
Yeah,
or several steps up the ladder. To be fair.
So, with kind of all of this knowledge, you know, kind of wrapping it up a little while, because you know, and I, we both could talk. And I'm going to say, look, where can people find you, John? So if people want to speak to John Grindrod, where could they find you?
FTC Gym Ipswich. We are on. Obviously, we've got a website, www.ftcgym.co.uk is our email address. .com is our website.
Nice.
You can find us on Instagram, FTC Gym, or Functional Training Company. You'll find us on there as well. And also, our latest member of staff has got our own little Insta page as well. If you haven't seen, Daisy Dog.
I haven't, no. Oh, the dog.
Daisy Dog _.
Getting Daisy Dog, yeah. A very well dressed Santa last week, I noticed.
Great for the members' morale. So yeah, you can find us there. I mean, if you've just got the internet, you find my number. Anybody, or you can email me. You know, and if you're in this area, feel free to drop in, have a session.
Awesome. Yeah,
always welcome. Always make somebody a brew.
Sounds good to me. Well, can I say, John, it's been an absolute pleasure, as normal. Always talking with you, and thank you so much for sharing your experience in life as much as anything else with other business owners that potentially can hopefully learn a few things from you, right?
Well, hopefully. You never know. I'm still learning myself. So,
so I guess just to finish off, so as this episode draws to a close, you know, here's a reminder that we're having a break shortly because Christmas is just around the corner. But don't worry, we will be back on Tuesday, the 9th of January, 2024. And I'm going to have to get used to saying 2024. Exactly. With another batch of brand new episodes. So leaves us to say from myself and John, who will be wishing all of you a fantastic holiday break and Christmas. Enjoy your rest, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening. We really want to help as many business owners in the fitness industry as we can. So if you know someone who could also benefit from listening to our episodes, remember to share it with them. That's really important. I want to get that message out there. And if you're enjoying Conversations with ClubRight, hopefully you are, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.